What's up, Weirdo? Shade Tree Surgeon here, and today we're going to talk about the other white meat. Well, I guess only two others on this one. I'll explain more in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Kawasaki's bastard child of the 80s, the ZL900 Eliminator. The early 80s was probably, in my opinion, the most exciting time in motorcycle history. I know a lot of guys would disagree with me, but the muscle bike race that the big four from Japan were in the early 80s was just so freaking cool and brought forth so many innovations and was just such an awesome time in motorcycle history and gave us some of my favorite motorcycles. I guess it's not us, it's me. It gave me some of my favorite motorcycles. Motorcycles like the Yamaha VMAX, the Honda Sabre, the V65 Magna, and of course, the Eliminator. While the ZL900 might be the odd one out on that bunch, it's not the oddest one out. It's not the other white meat, it's just the other white meat. The triple other white meat is the Suzuki V4 Madura. There are some things that are too strange even for me, and the V4 Madura definitely fills that category. Maybe strange isn't the right word, more like they only made 5,000 of them and I ain't trying to find parts for that thing. Along with the V65 Magna and the Yamaha VMAX, the ZL900 Eliminator was one of those motorcycles that occupied a place on the wish list of my young and dangerous heart. As a small child, I lusted after one of these bikes, even though out of the big four, excluding the Madura anyway, Kawasaki Eliminator took home a very solid third place. Still podium though, right? And of course, this particular ZL900 is in kind of rough shape and missing a few key components, actually 4 key components. Yeah, I think there's something that's supposed to be here that definitely ain't here. Luckily, those 4 little things aren't missing. They're just not on the motorcycle and probably not in any sort of working order. I'm excited for this ZL, this Eliminator. They always got kind of a bad rap. They got the short end of the stick, and they certainly didn't receive any favors from Kawasaki after they started slapping Eliminator on every single bike, including a 125. The Eliminator name kind of loses its bite a little bit when you stick it on something that's got about 8.5 horsepower. Now, this particular ZL900, this Eliminator right here, this is going to be for Joe the Jedi. And I guess that makes it also for me too. Here on Shade Tree TV, as you guys know, Joe the Mountain Jedi, he has Monday nights on Shade Tree TV, and we've been working on bikes, showing you guys how to fix stuff from a real expert. And this is going to be the first motorcycle in a new series that myself and Joe the Mountain Jedi are doing on Mondays called Ran When Parked. So keep an eye out for that coming in a couple weeks. I think that Ran When Parked is going to be a really good one because not only do we see it on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace all the time, and I know it's always the death knell, Ran When Parked. Of course it did. But I know a lot of you guys out there have your own motorcycles that ran when parked, and it's kind of nice to see what you got to do to bring one back from the dead. Make sure you're subscribed, turn that bell notification on, and leave a comment down below on what motorcycle you'd like to see us do next on Ran When Parked. Although, let's go ahead and get the first one done before we start talking about the next one, all right? For now, I'm still waiting on Joe the Mountain Jedi to get here. He's pulling double duty, working his shift at the ride factory, then coming over here to film with me afterwards. Let's go ahead and work on the Sportster. Whew. It's definitely a face only a mother could love. Actually, let's do something about that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's a concept I'm achingly familiar with, probably a little too familiar with. In fact, I'd like to be a little less familiar with it, but it kind of applies today. Although if I applied the logic of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, then I would have never built the Dirtster in the first place. I took a Sportster that was in perfectly good working order and I made it into this. Since I built this bike, I've had these TC Bros LED headlights on here. They sell this bracket and these lights as a whole kit. They've worked phenomenally. I got a high beam, I got a low beam. They've been through hell. I had one fall off one time, but that was probably just due to me not Loctiting it. Other than that, they've worked phenomenally. I couldn't recommend them more. They've been through rain, mud, rocks being dropped, my dumb ass, just parking the bike outside for months at a time. I can recommend these lights without a shadow of a doubt. I've probably put something like, I don't know, 12,000 miles with them on here, and they're perfectly fine. So yeah, their quality is great, and they do their job, which is make the dark not dark and make my feeble human eyes able to see. They perform that job flawlessly. So let's replace them. If you guys remember the off-road Goldwing we built for Adam Sandoval's hill climb and in Eureka Springs, the Dung Beetle. You'll remember that I was laughing my ass off when I put fog lights on that motorcycle because they are from a company called Oxbeam. Oxbeam is hilarious to me because I've been doing YouTube for a really long time. On this point, I think I'm closing in on 13 or 14 years making videos regularly. Bruh. Oh my God! Back in the day, Oxbeam used to send their lights to everybody. They absolutely flooded the market. So if you had a YouTube channel and it had anything to do with motorcycles, they would send their lights to people with like a couple hundred subscribers. They just flooded the market with it. It's a typical Chinese tactic. No hate on anybody who received free lights, but Oxbeam got a lot of free reviews from a lot of people for a product that was, I guess, all right. Because I always said no to that because I don't do that sort of thing on the channel. Then when it came time to buy a pair of fog lights for the Dung Beetle, I said, to hell with it. I'm finally gonna buy some Oxbeams. I'm not gonna let them send them to me, but I'm probably gonna buy a pair. And guess what? The quality's great. They're great lights. So for the Dirtster, I'm not putting Oxbeams on it. In my opinion, Oxbeam, they got a little too big for their britches, baby. They stopped sending out headlights to motovloggers. Now they're charging like $70, $80 more per set. And yeah, they're good, but I went with their even cheaper Chinese competitor, which means they're probably made in the same factory. Oxbeam is the Chinesium of yesterday. Welcome to Big Line. Yes, I bought these. I have no affiliation with Big Line. I don't even know if they send their stuff to people, but I just think it's hilarious that, you know, Oxbeam managed to make it. They're a Chinese brand that just sent their headlights and lights and fog lights to everybody under the sun, dude. Marketing by Mossberg. Just a buckshot into the YouTube community of motorcycle vloggers and off-roaders with Oxbeam stuff. If you were around on YouTube about 10 years ago, you could barely find one small channel that hadn't taken some Oxbeams and done a video on them. So I gotta try their competitor. Now, these are probably made like in factories across the street from each other, knowing these companies, but it was a whole hell of a lot cheaper than Oxbeam. This was $100 for a set of them. I only need one because this is a 9-inch headlight. I'm not gonna put two of them up there. But at $100, it was cheaper than anybody else. So let's put it through the ringer and see what happens. Oh yeah, this is gonna be ridiculous. I just really wanted that whole like Baja 1000 motorcycle look where they have these big headlights like this up here. I just have always kind of liked it, and I don't know, man, I want that for the Sportster. These are great, and I might really regret this later, but we're gonna give it a whirl. I can think of a few things. Yeah. In fact, I've got a list. You know what? Just your proximity is helping already. Yes. Now the TC Bros headlight mounting bracket is proprietary. I actually broke mine in a little tumble off-road and I re-welded it. It is proprietary to these lights. It provides a really clean mounting look as long as you didn't break it and have to weld it and then the only can of spray paint you had was white like me, but it's not gonna work for these lights. So I went ahead and I got a no-brow mount, which I've used these things a bunch of times. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them in chrome, you can get them powder coated black. I've used these things on a few different motorcycles and I freaking love them, man. I've got one of these on Shaylisi Sportster in chrome. I've got one of these on my XS650 chopper, and now I'm gonna have one on this bike too. It just allows you dual mounting points or multiple mounting points for a single light, or the ability to mount one big single light like I'm doing. It's really a versatile product. I'll have that Amazon link down below. One thing I did notice when I was taking this apart is, once again, I've got standing water inside of these built well risers, and that cannot be good. Eventually that's gonna rust all the way through. Unfortunately, it's looking like I'm gonna have to replace those built well risers. Just every time I've had to take them off, there's been water in there, and I just get worried it's gonna rust on the inside, and eventually I'm gonna be riding off-road somewhere and they're just gonna fall apart. Has anybody else had that experience with these built well risers? Seems kind of weird, man. It seems maybe it's maybe they changed them or something. You think that they would have some way to keep water from getting inside and just sitting in here. Well, my camera died, but it's on there. And obviously this is gonna give no actual like clue of how bright it is, but it's pretty bright, man. Whether it lasts or not, I guess that's a different story. Whether it looks good or not, well, beauty is in the eye of the beer holder, and I do love my beer, and I do love my ugly Sportster. One thing I do want to point out here is I went ahead and spliced in this waterproof connector that came with these things on the wiring harness that came with these things. Just cut it off the wiring harness these lights came with a relay and hooked it into the actual light system of the Sportster. The reason I did that will be very obvious to anyone who owns a Harley Davidson that has the old style 3-prong light hookup on it. Those things are garbage. They melt, they get corroded, they go bad all the time. The one that I had on there was already starting to get really corroded, already looked really nasty. So replacing it with that 2-pin waterproof connection that comes with these lights was really a no-brainer. Nobody's paying me to say these lights are good, so I'm gonna give you my honest review. If you wanna buy them now, knock yourself out. I'll have a link down below, but I'm not endorsing them as of right now. All I'm saying is I put it on the bike and it works. That's about as far as we get, and a real review will probably come a few months later after I've had it on the bike for a while and see if it holds up. Guys, I also wanna point something else out right now. It is currently about 8:30 in the morning, and my girl, Miss Chloe Cox, is already out here 8 a.m. twerking hard for a living, baby. Listen up, time waits for no man. You better rise and grind, baby. I'm not kidding, dude. First thing in the morning, all right? First thing in the morning. You guys remember me and Joe finished up the tour glide for my man Larry, who is coming to attempt to ride it back home to Texas. I have one last thing to do to it, and that's put some miles on it and do my best to make sure that nothing's gonna go wrong before he attempts to ride it back home to Texas. And I gotta put the windshield back on it. These old school mounting holes for these old windshields, they use well nuts, and they're notorious for going bad. They're notorious for pulling out. It's a really bad design, but there's plenty of stuff on this bike that's kind of a bad design, so it's not the only thing. The bike's got charisma, baby. It's got character. I love a bike with character, but let's make sure that we keep the character to a minimum until Larry picks it up, and then he can allow as much character as he wants to happen to the bike. Ace Hardware, here we come. 8 a.m. dewy morning, cold start. How does the old Tour Glide do? Does the beige malaise start right up first thing in the morning? Why wouldn't it? I don't even need full choke, just half choke, and it's running great. It's about to take off, and I realize these mirrors are freaking loosey-goosey. Can't have the mirrors doing the shimmy, shimmy, shake, baby. That is the wrong size screwdriver. Oh yeah, we actually got a pneumatic airlift. More on that later. And I don't feel bad, dude. I've spent my time pumping up a lift over there, dude. I earned it. Oh, it already doesn't need any choke. That's more like it. More on what this KTM's doing here later too. This thing handles freaking great with some new rubber on it. I had somebody comment about the old enclosed final chain drive on this thing and how they were a pain in the butt to get the tires changed, and yes, they are. And I will also say this bike no longer has an enclosed final drive. That is just one of the dumbest things Harley Davidson ever did. The enclosed final drive on Tour Glides was something Harley Davidson did to compete with Gold Wings. Essentially what they did is put a big plastic, rubber, and metal housing completely enclosing the chain and sprocket. I mean completely enclosing it all the way from the primary on back. And they did that so the salesman could sell it as zero maintenance. It most definitely wasn't zero maintenance, but you know, the salesman certainly sold it that way. Not only was it definitely not zero maintenance, but it also made rear tire changes on this motorcycle worthy of something that would happen in the 7th circle of hell. I can only imagine what Harley Davidson techs in the dealerships in the late 70s and early 80s when this thing came out and they had to work on that rear enclosed final drive system. They must have been losing their freaking minds. It was definitely a stopgap measure to compete with the success of the Goldwing, which is truly almost a zero maintenance motorcycle. The salesman needed to sell this in the same way, so they slapped that stupid thing on there until they could really get their belt drive perfected, and then they threw it in the garbage, just like we threw this one in the garbage after we took it off. So Larry, my friend, you are going to have to oil your rear chain. Trust me, you'd rather do that than change the rear tire with that other crap on there.
you know what, baby? This thing don't do bad for an old shovel head, especially one on a frame as big as this. This thing freaking moves all right, man. It really does. I know it has a cam in it. It actually feels faster than the Shovelhead FXR. I don't know, Larry. You might make it. I mean, I'm betting on you, but I love an underdog. Leave your comments down below. What do you think? Is the old Beige Malaise going to get Larry back to Texas, or is it going to leave him stranded somewhere in the in-between liminal spaces? I guess you'll find out really quickly. Just see if there's a 1982 Shovelhead Tour Glide for sale real cheap somewhere in the panhandle of Florida or Louisiana on Facebook Marketplace. I have faith, though. I mean, when it comes to shovelheads, you gotta have faith, because without faith, you ain't got much. Ace Hardware and Loctite by the gallon. That is the recipe if you own a shovelhead. Kind of bittersweet because I know Ace Hardware put so many local hardware shops out of business, but man, I do not know what I would do without Ace Hardware. All right, let's put the convertible top back up on this, get a windshield on this so he can ride it home to Texas.
These things definitely aren't the best. Not exactly what I would have chosen back in the day to secure a windshield, but that's what Harley chose, so I guess that's what we're using. We got windshield. Rock straps for the win, baby. These things are awesome. Got precious cargo here too, all y'all's Brapstar orders. Well, some of them anyway. We haven't gotten a big order in yet that we're shipping out soon. Now, when I first started Brapstar, I used to take every single order by motorcycle. That was our thing, man. Every order by bike. It only made sense to deliver it by motorcycle to make sure that it went from my house to the post office on the back of a bike. And yeah, I'm very thankful. I'm incredibly thankful that Brapstar has gotten big enough, thanks to all y'all's amazing support, gotten so big that when we do our really big orders, when we do a pre-order, that I gotta take the truck, man. But I'll tell you this, when I've only got a few orders, when I've just got one box full, I always still take the bike. And sometimes even when I have like 4 or 5 box fulls, because I can usually fit those on the Bangkok bagger. Motorcycles, they've given me everything I have in my life right now. All my friends, all my contacts, the people I love, like it's all revolves around motorcycles. It's because of motorcycles. You know, you could say that it's, your bikes, it's definitely not a hobby for me, and it's surpassed even a lifestyle and dove headfirst into the realm of unhealthy obsession. But as we always say, if the FBI asks, it's not a cult. We're just a fun group of friends with a special interest, that's all. Nothing to see here. Plenty of fun little social clubs out there require a blood sacrifice under a waxing gibbous moon, okay? That doesn't make us a cult, come on. Yes, for tax purposes, we are most definitely not a cult. Seems only fitting that the Beige Malaise should ride forth like the mighty war steed that it is. Okay, let's test the brakes. And they work. All right, where was I? Yes, this mighty steed of war, the Beige Malaise, rides forth to do battle with Shade Tree Army's ancient and weary arch nemesis, the United States Postal Service. More brown is our battle cry on Reagan's favorite jelly bean. Fear, terror, anger, these are the gifts that we bring the USPS. When things go bump in the night and they feel their hearts skip a beat, they break out in a cold sweat and look for something slimy lurking under the bed. And what yon foul beast shows its face creeping and crawling towards the USPS as it sleeps in its bed? None other than the weirdos of Shade Tree Army. Yeah, we're most definitely the bad guys in this scenario. The USPS is a long-suffering force for good, and Shade Tree Army, baby, we are up to some nefarious deeds. Godspeed, evildoers.
Once again, the armies of evil triumph over the forces of good, because good is dumb. Seriously, I'm definitely the bad guy here. I feel bad for all the people at USPS that have to deal with my bull crap. I will tell you, we got several postmen at the camp out, and one of them looked like a straight villain. He had an eye patch. It was very cool. Super nice guy. He helped us cook the whole time. So yeah, you know, we've got our little feud with USPS, but that doesn't mean that we don't have some men on the inside. Be very wary, USPS, for you are compromised. Agents of chaos, members of Shade Tree Army, are within place high in the ranks of the United States Postal Service, ready to act at a moment's notice. Again, if the FBI is watching, we are not a cult. In fact, speaking of, you know what Shade Tree Army needs? A couple guys on the inside of the FBI. So start recruiting. And while I'm definitely not promising that a Brapstar sticker is a get out of jail free card, I will tell you this. I know more than a few members of the fuzz, members of the constabulary, police officers across America who have let me know that when they pulled over a car or a motorcycle with a Brapstar sticker on the back, they let them off. Call us Legion, for we are many. So for all my members out there of the Law-Abiding Citizens Club, if you ever happen to get nabbed by the fuzz having a little too much fun, and as he hands you your license back, he just says, keep it weird, make sure you say thank you to the dark gods of Brap.
Well, I promised to let you guys know what this KTM was doing here. This particular KTM belongs to a friend of mine and fellow Shade Tree Army Discord weirdo, Rollin' with Roland. He has a YouTube channel. I'll have it linked down below. Roland's a great dude, comes to the campouts, good guy, but he's fallen into a little bit of a problem with this KTM that reminds me a lot of the problem that I fell into with my Ducati. In so much that he brought a running motorcycle into a dealership for a valve adjustment, and they gave him back a motorcycle that they're claiming needs an entire top end replacement. That really didn't jive with me too well. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of the situation that I went through. Don't think that this is something that I do for everybody. I'm not even just doing it for him because he's my friend. Brapstar Garage is not a shop that takes in motorcycles from customers to fix. We don't do that. If you're looking to have your motorcycle worked on, take it to the Ride Factory. Joe works there, Brian works there, Shelby works there. They're great people. They'll take care of you. This is a very special case. They gave him back a non-running bike, and they're saying it needs either a top end replacement, possibly a total engine replacement. KTM's not helping them out. They were throwing parts at it, and I just want to figure out, well, when I say I mean the royal we, not I, as in me and Joe, as in mostly Joe the Mountain Jedi. We just want to take a look inside here and see if they're trying to cover something up. I don't know if they are. It could be all above board. Maybe there's something was actually wrong with it before he brought it in there, but we're gonna do a little bit of an autopsy on this thing and see if we can figure out what's going on. I'm not naming the dealership, so don't even try to figure it out. Not naming them because they possibly could have done nothing wrong. They could be totally in the right. They could be totally legit, so I don't want to cast any shade or aspersion on somebody who's done nothing wrong, but I do want to get to the bottom of this because even though, you know, I'm a big innocent until proven guilty, this one stinks to high heaven, in my opinion anyways. More on this later. We're not getting into it today. That's gonna about do it for this video, and it's time to put some more miles on that tour glide before I give it over to my man Larry to hopefully make it back to Texas. Till next time, y'all, keep it weird.
Crashing through the sky comes a fearful cry. Shade Tree Army, Shade Tree Army, armies of the night, evil taking flight. Shade Tree Army, Shade Tree Army, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, panic spreading far and wide. Can the world oppose the deadliest of foes? Shade Tree Army, Shade Tree Army, who will risk it all to end the evil call of Shade Tree Army, Shade Tree Army. They never give up, they never say die, walking tall with banners high. Shade Tree Army, a ruthless gang of scum, villains, freaks, and bikers determined to rule the world.